This picture right here has been blowing up social media. This is Umar Nurmagomedov, who's going to be fighting, obviously, this weekend at UFC 311, but the debate here is this supposed to be natural, or is there something more sinister here? And we're going to get into that. UFC 311 is going down this weekend. We already saw these shorts that got revealed from Merab and Islam. Merab shorts are like kind of this like Georgian flag, I guess, you know, kind of design, you know, obviously Merab being from Georgia. Islam is a white one with like a sword, as you guys can probably see on the screen. So just more of the UFC doing these custom shorts, which I love. I'm glad that they finally are doing this. I'm glad this is just a normal thing. This should have been a normal thing. I mean, this is insane. And the world of combat sports is on fire. There's so much going on. I want to briefly talk about each of the big things that are going on, including Tyson Fury retiring, quote unquote. Yeah, Tyson Fury once again retires. And I'm saying quote unquote because although he put out a video seemingly being serious, we've heard this time and time again, this is obviously just a negotiation tactic. He's gonna fight Anthony Joshua, I guarantee you. Maybe what this means is that the fight gets pushed off later. Maybe it gets pushed off to September, but the fight to make is Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. And this is a totally winnable fight for Tyson Fury, as a matter of fact, because Tyson Fury did look good against Alexander Usyk. Even though he lost both those fights, he still could, I think, beat Anthony Joshua, and I think most people agree to this. We also have potential Alex Pereira fight news because, yeah, there's been a lot of teasing about Alex Pereira's next fight. UFC 313 is right now scheduled for Las Vegas, and that right now has no main event right now, so it could be anything for all we know. But the UFC tweeted out this picture kind of hinting at the fact that, yeah, UFC 313 has no main event, and it says coming soon. But I have a feeling this is going to be main evented by Alex Pereira versus Nurmagomedov. This is because we also saw Alex Pereira post on Instagram, "On my way home, stay tuned this week. Good news, Chama." So what news is coming out this week? I would expect probably UFC 313's main event coming out this week. I mean, like I said, we're under 2 months away. And later on in the video, I'm going to talk about another fight that is scheduled for 313, and you guys are not going to believe this fight, trust me. And while Alex Pereira has some good news, Bellator has bad news, seeing that they announced that they are shutting down officially. Bellator is having an event on the 25th, which if you looked at the promotion heading into this, I mean, there was no mention of Bellator other than the belts, right? The belts still have, I think, the Bellator logo, but Bellator has been pretty much pushed out and is being replaced by the PFL, which is what should have been done a year ago. This all should just be one big promotion, and that's a better way to help rival against the UFC. However, I think at this rate, there is no rivaling against the UFC. They are just, you know, so ahead of the competition. And Bellator released Patricio Pitbull, and we covered this a lot. Patricio Pitbull wanted out of his contract with Bellator. Don Davis tweeted out saying, "We are releasing Patricio Pitbull at PFL is all about opportunity. I found this company to create great new opportunities for top fighters. PFL has and will continue to do that for all the top fighters who want to be here. Hashtag PFL MMA," which I think this is him kind of playing dumb and kind of just outright lying. I mean, we saw Kayla Harrison have a little bit of a tricky, you know, pull out of the PFL. And it seemed like when she wanted to leave, you know, Don Davis, who was the head of the PFL, he did not seem happy. He went on interviews, you know, kind of saying that she didn't want to fight fighters in the PFL, making it seem like Kayla Harrison was afraid. Because, yeah, if you're so afraid, you're going to not fight UFC fighters, but PFL fighters, this just makes no sense. But most notably, you guys might remember when Kayla Harrison last fought against Caitlin Vieira, that day, the PFL posted promotional material of Larissa Pacheco beating Kayla Harrison, keep in mind, the same day when she was fighting. And it just seemed like, obviously, they were kind of throwing shots at Kayla Harrison, trying to make her seem less than and trying to make the PFL seem better than the UFC to the best of their abilities. Another fighter who got out of their contract was Holly Holm. Holly Holm was obviously a big staple of the UFC, and I know we were all crying because that means no more Holly Holm Apex events. I mean, I was really looking forward to Holly Holm versus Raquel Pennington, perhaps, but man, it looks like we're not going to get that one. So yeah, she's out of her contract. I wouldn't be surprised if she did boxing. I mean, a big boxing match I'm just thinking of right now that could be done is Holly Holm versus Chris Cyborg. That is a good boxing fight, and these two are definitely the top two female MMA fighters outside of the UFC right now, so it makes sense to make that fight, and they both have experience in boxing. You can even do maybe either Katie Taylor or Amanda Serrano too. I mean, those are very good options and would be very profitable for Holly Holm. And I'm going to get to Umar in a second. Just this last thing, Dan Hooker and Justin Gaethje seems to be in the works. Justin Gaethje did a YouTube video on his YouTube channel talking about how he's preparing for not just, you know, Dan Hooker, but March 8th, which is now under 2 months away. That would be a badass fight. Here's what Justin Gaethje had to say.
You know, there's a fight March 8th in Las Vegas. I think it's going to be Dan Hooker, but you know, with the UFC, things can always change. But that's what I'm preparing for, again, mentally, physically, for that fight. March 8th.
And this is the fight to make. I did want to see Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier too. That was definitely up there, but this is a good second because I won't complain about this. I am seeing odds that Justin Gaethje is a huge favorite. Dan Hooker's been looking good. Like, he's definitely making up for some of his past performances where he did not deliver. I thought his win against Mateusz Gamrot, I was shocked when that happened. I thought he looked very good in that fight. And I think there's a chance he beats Justin Gaethje, seeing that Gaethje last lost to Holloway and has not fought since. I think Gaethje did good trying to take some time off, so we're going to see obviously how that turns out for him. But what I wanted to talk to you guys most about, and I think what everybody wants to hear about. Umar Nurmagomedov, as I teased, this picture is insane. This is literally supposed to be a probably around 5 to at most 8-year-old looking jacked. Like, I mean, I've never seen an 8-year-old like this. So what makes this picture so interesting is I think a lot of fans are remembering this video of Bobby Green a couple years ago talking about Islam Makhachev and making a weirdly specific allegation towards the Dagestani fighters. Here's what Bobby Green had to say in case you guys forgot.
I was around on my YouTube, right? And I found this little video and it said Islam had a little trouble with drugs, but I don't see people talking about him. And so he was saying when he first came over that his school that he trained at in Russia, they just gave him vitamins, you know? They've been doing this since who knows when you start training. Imagine if you gave someone steroids from the age of 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, how strong you would be. People were like he was really strong. It makes sense now. There's 2 people that I moved around with. I'm not gonna say their names, but I was like, that's interesting. I moved with thousands of guys. That was interesting. I told my coach the same thing. There was something interesting about Islam. It's just not human. It makes sense. If I could do drugs, like, because our countries are different. Russia's been banned for the Olympics, you know? Their country's a little bit more okay with the drug use.
And this picture, look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Bobby Green is telling the truth. I honestly don't know. This is all alleged, so I'm not making any allegations. This is just me, you know, putting out what everybody's talking about and putting out what Bobby Green is saying. So don't sue me, and I'm also not making any steroid allegations. I'm just saying that this picture definitely would go towards the evidence pile of that, because that is extremely weird. I'm not gonna sit here and say that it's impossible for a kid to look like that. I mean, but it's just super rare. There's also this picture of Islam and I guess some of his friends, and you can see here, this is a young looking Islam Makhachev, maybe 19, 20, and he looks in phenomenal shape, which, yeah, is totally possible, but, you know, it's just very rare, especially at that age, to be at that type of physical conditioning, honestly. It's extremely rare, but also possible. And I'm gonna give my predictions for the main and co-main event in a little bit, but I'm just gonna say, like, look, Umar, I mean, he is good, and a lot of the Dagestani fighters are good, and I've said this before, but it's weird how much better they are than everybody else, right? Like, they are top-tier UFC fighters, seemingly unbeatable. I mean, there's so many of them with undefeated records, so I don't know, and I definitely do think that it should be investigated at the very least, because this picture is a little bit suspect. And keep in mind, maybe this picture is Photoshop, maybe it's altered, but I've seen a lot of people share this picture and it seems legit. So I would like to see Umar Nurmagomedov kind of come out to talk about this, but kids don't get like that. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, but the fact we could actually see his pecs and abs, that is insane. And speaking of Umar, right, he is going to be fighting Merab. I've given my prediction a little bit before, but I do think that Merab is going to win. I think Merab has a skill set to win, because look, Merab is also very strong, right? Obviously Umar is strong, but so is Merab. I think this fight is going to be a lot on the feet, but I think we're actually going to see Merab push the pace. I think we're going to see Umar be going backwards with Merab, you know, shooting for takedowns time and time again, and I think it's going to wear out Umar, and I think Umar is going to just be, you know, following the pace of Merab, getting tired. And keep in mind, you know, Umar has not had a lot of experience. I think it's a mistake rushing him. I'm not even saying it's unfair. I think this will backfire, because look, at the end of the day, he's only fought Corey Sandhagen, and he didn't look all that amazing in that fight. That was a pretty close fight, and I think it's going to come down to the later rounds, and I think that we're going to see Merab really push the pace against Umar. I think it's going to be Merab by decision. Umar potentially could maybe even hurt Merab. We've seen Merab hurt on the feet before, and Umar is a very good striker. He has very fast hands and knockout power. For the main event, guys, I have flip-flop back and forth, guys. I genuinely, I don't even know. Like, I'm going back and forth. I've given so many different predictions, but I think it's going to be a very close decision, and I'm going to pick Arman Tsarukyan. I just went back and forth in my head. I'm going to pick Arman Tsarukyan. Here's how I think the fight's going to go. I think this is going to be a mostly stand-up fight. I think we're going to see Arman really push the pace, similar to, like I said, about Umar and Merab, and I think we're going to see some weaknesses of Islam, specifically his defense when he's going backwards, when he's up against the fence. And I think we're going to see Arman capitalizing, stealing rounds, but I also think that Islam striking is good and could potentially hurt Arman and steal some rounds back. I'm going to go with my prediction, split decision, Arman Tsarukyan. That is my prediction, guys. I am so excited for this weekend. It's a bunch of great fights on the card. Tomorrow, I am going live 4 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to break down the card top to bottom, giving my official pick, so tune in there. That's 4 p.m., or you guys could just watch it afterward. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are the best fan base in MMA. Check out my other video where I broke down the Conor McGregor situation with the CCTV footage. Hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one.